Hi, in this tutorial we're going to look at JavaScript and how we can get started doing a basic project. So I'm in Rappel and I've started a new HTML project with JavaScript already in it. So when we set up our HTML project, we've obviously got our HTML tags already set up. And the key thing is that we need to have our script tag at the bottom of our body. It's going to link over here to our script.js file. The first thing we need to do to get this working is we're going to be creating a really simple input box where we are going to be able to write our names and then print that out to the screen underneath. So the first thing we need to do is have an input, and we're going to give that an ID called name, and we're going to put this here, and we're going to give it a label as well, a name. So when we run the page here, you'll see that just a box appears with the word name next to it, so we can type into this box. The next thing we want to add to our HTML page is a button next to it so that we can submit that name to our script. So we're going to create a button tag. We're going to give it an ID. We're going to call it name button. Now, really important that when we label these things that we put them inside double quotations. And then we're going to add a listener to our button so that when we do something to the button, it's going to run and do something. So on click equals, and this is going to mean that when we click on this button, what function do we want to run inside our script.js file? So we're going to call it add name with our two brackets afterwards. I'm going to close the tag of the button and then close the button off altogether. And in between our two arrow tags in here is the text that will go into the button. So we're going to write add name. So when I run this now, you'll see that my text box will appear over here and my add name button will appear. So now we need to write some code for this add name function. So we're going to jump over into our script.js file and we're going to create our function to start with. So we use the keyword function, and then we need to write down the name exactly as we would have wrote it in our HTML file. So it was add name, and then we need two curly brackets after our two parentheses, and this is where we write the code for our function inside this block. So that when we click on this add name or name button, it's going to run the add name function inside of our script.js when it's clicked on. So what we need to do first is we need to grab the value out of this box and store it into our JavaScript documentation. So I'm going to create a new variable. I'm going to call it name, and it's going to equal this box over here. To access that box, what we need to do is write document.getElement by ID, and then in brackets we need to put what box do we want to get the value from. So the box that we want to get the value from is, we go back to our index page over here, is name. Name. Our input ID is name. So we want to try and get our value from there. So let's jump back into our script.js. We're going to write name, and then what do we want to do? We want to get the value, semicolon on the end. So that's just basically going to get the name and store it into our JavaScript file. To print it out to make sure that we are getting what we're wanting, we're just going to add the name to the console log. So when I hit run now, I should be able to write a name into the box. I'm going to hit the button, type in a name, add the button here. Up in our console, we can see that now that name of AA is now being stored for us to use. So if we wanted that name maybe underneath here to say hi AA, what we could do is go back to our index file, and underneath our button we are going to put a paragraph section. So paragraph ID equals, and we're going to call that a message. We're going to create an area called message. We're going to close off our p tags as well, so /p. So we've created now a section underneath. You can't see it at the moment, but that content will be filled up when I hit the add name button. So the message section in our HTML page, which is down underneath here, will be able to display our message. Let's go back to our function. So after we've got that name, what we're going to do is we're going to write something into that paragraph called message. So the first thing we need to do is access that section on our web page by going document.getElement by ID. What's the section we want to write into? Well, it's the section called message. And this time we're going to use a dot, and we're going to use another value or another namespace here in our HTML equals. And in brackets to start off with, because I want to write a part of a string. I want to put hi with a space, and then I want to concatenate by using the plus sign and then writing the variable name and a semicolon on the end. So when I run the function, I'm going to click the button. It's going to grab the AA, store it in the variable name, and then it's going to go down to that paragraphed area called message and print out hi AA. Let's run our code. AA, add name, hi AA. So you can see how we can really simply grab values out from a box here and then print it out to the screen. The only other thing that you might need to deal with when grabbing values is to consider if you want to store it as a string or a number. So if we were to go back to our index.html, and if we were to add another input up here, so let's call it age, and we're going to put another input section here, ID, I'm going to call this one age. So now we've got two boxes. When we run our code, we've said we have two boxes. We're going to have age and input. The only thing we might need to consider is passing this value in as an integer so that we can deal with it. So what we're going to do up here to be able to do that is to create another variable called age. It's going to equal document.getElement by ID. This time we are getting the value from the age box, and we're going to go dot value. Okay, so making sure that we fill this out correctly. Extra bit of syntax in here, so we don't need the brackets at the end of that one, but we need it around age. So that will return the value as a string when I enter a number. What I want to do though is make sure that it is saved as a number. So what I can do is I can type in the text pass int, pass int with a capital I, and I'm going to put brackets around that whole value here. And then what I'm going to do is we are just going to see if this is working. Put in console.log, and we're going to print out the age of the person in the console.log. So let's hit run. I'm going to type in a name, AAA, and the person's age will be 12. Add name. We can see over here that 12 has also been put into the console log. So this short tutorial showed you how to get values out of form elements and save them using a function and a button. Thanks for listening.